Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Morning Glory video. In today's episode, we shall be continuing our look at the new 10th edition Imperial Guard Index. This time, we shall be returning to everyone's favourite World War I themed Guard regiment, the Death Corps of Krieg. However, we shall not be looking at the line troopers, the poor bloody infantry. Instead, we shall be casting our critical eye over their officer corps. Specifically, we shall be reviewing the Death Corps Marshal from Forge World. And you know what? There's only one way to say this. The Death Corps Marshal is broken. He is S tier. He is by far the best guard character you can take in your army right now. If you're not slapping 3 of these things at the top of every army list, you are doing it wrong. That is not an opinion. That is a cold, hard fact. And with that very bold statement made, let us don our gas masks, charge out into no man's land, and dive right into today's video. As is tradition, we shall begin this video with a very brief overview of what the hell a Death Corps Marshal actually is. This is both for our newer players who might be getting into 40k for the first time with the new edition, but also for our longbeards who might be considering Guard as a new faction they want to collect. In the lore, a Death Corps Marshal is a senior officer within the Death Corps of Krieg. They can be compared to company commanders or Cadian Castellans of other regiments. However, unlike in other armies where officers can buy their commission or go to specialized officer schools, the Death Corps of Krieg promotes solely on merit. Pretty much everyone starts off as a basic trooper, and if you survive enough suicidal frontal bayonet charges, you may be lucky enough to rise to the ranks of Marshal, but it takes particularly skilled or lucky individuals to do so. Whilst this does lead to horrific losses within the Death Corps of Krieg, and especially within the up-and-coming officer corps, it does mean that those that get to the top are a special breed. They have shared every hardship with their men. They know intimately what their forces are capable of, and they have a firm grasp on the preferred tactics of the Death Corps. They know what works because they have survived it and lived it. However, historically, when it comes to the tabletop, Death Corps Marshals haven't really been all that special. They've just been a renamed and reskinned senior officer, pretty much like any other in the Imperial Guard. But in 10th edition, that is all about to change. The Death Corps Marshal is an absolute beast. Let's get into the deep dive by beginning with that unit profile. We have a movement value of 6 inches, a toughness of 3, a 5+ armor save, 4 wounds, leadership 7+, and objective control 1. Now I know what you're thinking. Morning Glory, you lying bastard. That is the same profile that we've seen on the Cadian Castellan and Creed and any other officer. It's an extra wound over that of a platoon commander. Well, hang on. Because right off the bat, we do have something which sets the Death Corps Marshal apart. He has got a 5+ invulnerable save. Now, I know that's not exactly the weapon to surpass Metal Gear that you were expecting, but it is noteworthy because pretty much no other officer in the Guard has got an invulnerable save anymore. Commissar doesn't have one. Platoon commanders don't have one. I think Creed might have one, but I'm not 100% certain. I think the only person that's got one is the Lord Solar and also Strachan. So a unnamed, relatively basic character getting an invulnerable save is actually quite nice, and it is important because it makes him more resistant to precision. And precision is very important. Precision is the key to countering Guard. If you can snipe the enemy characters out, if you can snipe those officers out, then you're going to find it much easier to beat the Guard. And if you're using Guard, and if you're in the Guard, anything that keeps your officers alive gets 2 thumbs up. 3 if you've been infiltrated by the Gene Stealer cult. But I'm going to be honest with you. The invulnerable save is a nice to have. It's a cherry on top. It's not the main star of the show here. Let's move on. Next up, we've got the ranged weapons. Now, as standard, your Deathcore Marshal comes equipped with a las pistol and power sword. Now, he can't swap that power sword out for anything. You can't give him a chainsword. He's taking a power weapon whether you like it or not. What is interesting, there is a little typo here, is that it says on the unit composition he's equipped with a power sword, but it says on the melee weapons he's equipped with a power weapon. Don't worry about it, it's just a slight typo. He does have that power weapon that's on his melee weapon profile there, and it's a fairly standard power weapon. He's got 4 attacks at weapon skill 3+, strength 4, AP -2, damage 1. That's fine, that's okay. It gives him a little bit of bite in combat, but he's not going to be slaying demon primarch single-handedly. When it comes to range weapons, he has a las pistol, but for free you can swap it out to a bolt pistol, which is standard, same as you'd find on any other guard officer or marine. And he can also take a plasma pistol, which does have the new plasma profile of AP -2, unless it's overcharged, then it becomes AP 3, damage 2, and extra strength. So far, so unremarkable. The only thing to mention is you pretty much might as well always take that plasma pistol because it's just a straight upgrade, even if you don't supercharge it, over the las pistol and bolt pistol. At this point, I know many of you are scratching your heads and going, Mordian Glory, did you just clickbait me in with this video? What makes this guy so powerful? What makes him such a good unit? It's not his weapons. As with any guard officer, the key is in the abilities, is in their capability to act as a force multiplier. And in this regard, the Deathcore Marshal is unsurpassed. I'm not kidding when I say he is at the very least equal to the Lord Solar, and maybe even better than the Lord Solar when it comes to just infantry command. All right? How do I justify this? First up, he himself comes with a Feel No Pain 5+. Once again, this is amazing. It's like the 5+ invulnerable save. Anything that makes him durable to getting sniped out is brilliant. Anything that allows him to just keep doing his job of just solving that Achilles heel is something that you just cannot overestimate. You cannot overvalue that. So straight up, he's going to be pretty resistant to any kind of snipe weapons that are going to try and take his head off. He's also a leader. That's pretty standard. You're going to find that with pretty much any guard character out there. He has the voice of command ability, which means he can issue orders, and he can order 1 regiment unit. Pretty much, you're going to order the unit that he's going to be leading. Okay? So the 5+ pay is nice, leader is good, officer, orders, all brilliant. But then we get into the real hot topic. Then we get to the absolute main reason you are taking this guy. And I cannot exaggerate, this is S tier. Martial Dedication is a unique ability to the Deathcore Marshal. While this model is leading a unit, models in that unit have a Feel No Pain 5+. Not just Deathcore Marshal, the entire squad. If you take a 20-man brick, every single one of those guys gets a 5+ Feel No Pain. This is totally wild. It is bananas. It's bonkers. It's mind-blowing. I mean, already from command squads giving out a 6 of Feel No Pain was I feeling pretty happy. This 5+ Feel No Pain has turned me into a 1-man A-frame. It's unreal. You can turn any guard 20-man brick into an immovable object that your opponent is going to need to dedicate seriously powerful guns to dealing with. This unit will, I guarantee it, bounce off pretty much any small arms fire in the game. Right now, people are looking at this and they're completely underestimating it. I saw a comment the other day on competitive Reddit saying, oh, the Deathcore Marshal's nice, but that 5+ Feel No Pain, it's kind of like a whatever, you know, it's all right. That guy's totally wrong. That guy needs lambasting back to the Stone Age. If you want to see how good this 5+ Feel No Pain ability is in action, then check out the battle report that I'm going to link at the end of this video. I had 2 units of Tau stealth suits being guided with stratagem support unload into a 20-man Deathcore of Krieg squad, and they killed 4 dudes. 4. of which 2 of them just came back next turn because they were Deathcore infantry with a Deathcore med pack, so they could just heal D3 guys back into the squad. Just think about the potential this has. If you take a 20-man Deathcore Krieg unit, and you put in a Deathcore Marshal, and you also put in a Primaris Psyker, you're going to have a 20-man unit, which is going to have a 3+ armor save, because it starts off at a 5+. The Deathcore Marshal can tell you to take cover, which puts you onto a 4+, and then you can benefit from cover. And let me tell you, it is supremely easy to get the benefit of cover in 10th edition because of things like battlefield debris. Because if you shoot through ruins, you get the benefit of cover. Because if you shoot through forests, you get the benefit of cover. Look, you're always getting the benefit of cover. Okay, just take it as read, you've pretty much always got it. That means the benefit of cover, which gives you +1 to your save, stacks with the order take cover because that affects your save characteristic, not your dice roll. We've talked about this before with take aim and heavy, all right? There's a difference between +1 modifiers and +1 to your save characteristic. So just trust me, take cover and cover benefit and combine together. So you've got a unit with a 3+ armor save, which also then, thanks to the Primaris Psyker, has a 4+ invulnerable save, which even if something does manage to get through, you're then on a 5+ feel no pain. That protects you against every form of firepower out there. Is your opponent spamming loads of small arms? That's fine, your armor save catches that. Does your opponent start hitting you with big blast weapons? That's okay, the invulnerable save stops that. Oh, opponent starts coming in with those devastating wounds? Doesn't matter. The 5 feel no pain gives you insurance. It gives you protection. No matter what your opponent throws at a unit being led by a Deathcore Marshal and maybe another support character, it's going to take it and it's going to survive it. I know it seems like I'm flogging a dead horse. I know it seems like I'm over-egging the pudding and that I'm really ramming this point down your throat, but I cannot impress upon you enough how powerful this is. On paper, it's good. When you see it in real life on the tabletop, your mind is going to be reeling. It's going to be a eureka moment. Feel no pains are historically one of the most powerful abilities a faction can have. In fact, over the course of 8th and 9th edition, GW made strenuous efforts to reduce feel no pains throughout the game because they were one of the mechanics that almost broke the game in 7th and almost caused the whole downfall of Games Workshop because they almost killed the game with how broken 7th was. And a large part of that was feel no pains, and not even extreme feel no pains, just things like a 5+. There's a reason that Death Guard lost it. There's a reason why so many Death Guard players were so upset when they lost it. Feel no pains are so good. And the fact that Guard can take 3 Deathcore Marshals and give 3 blobs of infantry this ability. And then, if you really want to start getting into it, you can take another 3 platoon command squads and another 3 Cadian command squads. If you really took this to an extreme, you could have 180 Guard infantry marching around the board with a 3+ save and some form of feel no pain. Do you know how important that is? That solves Guard's biggest issue. Now, you might not want to take the full 180. There's probably some middle ground that will allow you to take the amount of infantry you want, plus keep the firepower that you're going to need to get the job done. But let me just explain why having so much feel no pain is so amazingly powerful to the Guard. Because it solves our biggest weakness, which is we can take ground, but we struggle to hold ground. Typically what happens when you're doing a Guard advance is you march 20 guys onto an objective and they get blown off. You then march another 20 guys onto an objective and they get blown off. And every time it comes round to your command phase, you don't score the points you should have scored because you're just not holding onto the ground that you're taking. If you have feel no pains, if you concentrate on making your infantry as durable as possible, and we've now been given the tools to do this, you can take the ground and you can hold it. Finally, solving the biggest Achilles heel our faction has had since the Great Reset of 8th edition. And the knock-on effect of this is wild, because previously you were being forced to take tanky units that you weren't really wanting to take. I don't talk Lehman Russes. What I mean is things like Bullgrins. Something like a big block of Bullgrins so you could just hold a meter of trench because they just happen to be infantry with a half-decent save. Don't need to worry about those anymore. All those points you were spending on that 120 infantry and a big blob of Bullgrins, guess what? Those Bullgrins, they can go away now. You can put all of those points into taking more firepower, more officers. And speaking of infantry, in previous editions, you would need to take 100 infantry minimum. 120 was the recommended amount. Well, guess what? After playing a few games, in my experience, you can get away with 80 infantry in your guard army now. 4 blocks of 20. That is 40 less than you needed previously. All of those points, again, can go into other parts of your list. More firepower, more command and control. It just makes your army so much more efficient, and you can get so much more out of your list. Me and Traitor Tom, my partner in crime on the Mordiang Glory channel, have both remarked in the last few battles that we've played against each other, both practice and battle, how much you can squeeze into a guard list these days. Guard armies can be bigger than ever before. You can have your cake and eat it. And what's brilliant is when your opponent finally chews through this 25 man blob with all of these defensive buffs, they finally clear it out. Do you know what happens? Just comes back because you've got the reinforcement strat. Now, of course, the 20 infantry that come back aren't going to necessarily have all the buffs that you need on them. They're not going to be being led by a character with a feeling of pain. They might not have access to an order straight away, but it doesn't matter. Your opponent has exerted so much effort to get rid of one blob. The fact that it comes back at all still means that's 20 more guys you can throw onto an objective. That's 20 more guys you can throw back into the meat grinder. It's just diminishing returns on your opponent's damage output. But wait, there's more. I know, how can there be more, guys? But there is. Because you've got another ability called Cult of Sacrifice. Once per battle, you can target this model's unit with the insane bravery stratagem for 0 CP, and can do so even if you have already targeted a different unit with that stratagem this phase. This cannot allow you to use the insane bravery stratagem more than twice per phase. That's so good because it solves a new problem we've got with the guard, which is our army rules can be countered thanks to Battle Shock. You see, if you order a unit and then it gets Battle Shocked, it loses the order. But if you use Insane Bravery, it doesn't get Battle Shocked and it gets to keep the order. So that means another problem that we've got is just solved by a Death Corps Marshal. Oh, this Death Corps unit was going to fail its Battle Shock test. No, it's all right. I think I will pass. And what's brilliant is you can do it twice in a phase. So it solves the order problem, and you can do it for 0 CP, which is another feather in the cap of this guy, because it solves another issue. It's a 2-for-1, which is the CP drought. It's another tool in the toolbox to dealing with the fact that everyone starts with 0 command points. But do you want to know the real spicy meatball, the cherry on top? Is all of this comes at the low price of 60 points. That makes him extremely spammable. You can take 3 of these things in your list, win 3 squads of Death Corps infantry, and it won't even cost you 600 points. That gives you plenty of points left over to get all the artillery and tanks, whatever else you want, right into your list. Honestly, however I look at this guy, I can't help but think he is an auto-include. But as we always say, that is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in that comment section below. Do you like the Death Corps Marshal, or do you think he might be a little bit overhyped? And if you do like him, how are you planning on using him in your lists? Of course, if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. And if you found today's video particularly enjoyable or informative, then please consider becoming a channel member or Patreon. By supporting the channel, you'll be helping me create content, but at the same time, you will also unlock a whole host of perks for you to enjoy. The biggest of which is access to the Mordy and Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,000 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for discussing tactics, hobbying, painting, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. And I just want to take a moment to say a big thank you to all of the latest channel members. So thank you to Default Username, Edwin J, Jack Finley, Duke Ronald, Billy, Rick Music, Nick Berry, Kevin Nelson, Sam Zarski, Necker Loves Cake, Alex Rodriguez, Robin Burt, Strix, Johnny Five, Alexander Berg, Ben Hogan, Stephen, Admiral Galactica, Bass Browser, Neuromancer, Duca 15, Milo Moran, Uncle Buck, Nate, Bryson Lay, Toby K, Greg Heist, Christian E, Mass Produce Me, Lowly Strategos, Victor Von Snazdacker, Richard Eric Roth, Brandon Hutchings, Nathaniel Duncan, Midash Guy, Dadum, Hot Cup of Joe, Alexandra Brunn, Wilson Marquis, Monsoir, Geezer, Duffsnick, Julian Calero, James Riddle, Radioactive Bear, Ross Shaw, Tech 910, Rob Gailey, 40 Hitter, DB, Anders Morkberg, Colvier, Garin Fick, Razor 667, Miguel Perez, Peter Cronin, HP MV 110, Eric McCombs, Iku Turso, An Innocent, Joe, Alec Trupps, Aid K, Mr. Baxter, Old Goat 1776, Callum McCaig, Unlisted Uniform, Morgan Rudolph, Alan Chapman, Tensler, and Couch Potato. I also want to do a big shout to the latest Patreons as well. So thank you to Jordan Freeman 94, Amy DeSweet, Aegis, Jamin Bales, Historicrane, James Lowry, Ken Starr, Reef Marley, Hannah B888, Jackson Ashworth, Metus Midman, Kelly and Chris Malink, Plastic Fork, Mike Galvin, and Miss Rogue Merc. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal, special, heartfelt thank you to all of my top tier Patreon supporters. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a massive thank you to Alan Blunt III, Amy DeSweet, Bon Bon Vert, Ken Starr, Mark Panconi, Ross Miller, Sawfish Trombone, John Stubbs, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Thank you guys. Your ongoing and incredibly generous support makes a huge difference and is a big part of how I'm able to do Mordy and Glory full time. I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Thank you for watching, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.